Howdy, this is Melody Allen with the Patriots Revival podcast here at the Texas GOP Convention, and we're talking to the best state senator, my senator, Senator Bob Hall from SD2 or Senate District 2. So, Senator, thank you so much for being on Patriots Revival today.
Well, glad to. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that very much.
Yes, sir. So, we are at state convention. A lot has happened. We made it through our party chair race, and we ended up with who we wanted, Mr. Abraham George. Talk a little bit about that. Maybe talk about Abraham and why you endorsed him.
Well, I've known Abraham for quite a while, and I've watched him run the Collin County GOP. I watched how he ran his whole organization, his ability to raise money, and his dealings with people, and his understanding of constitutional conservative values and principles. He is a constitutional conservative with Judeo-Christian values, and that's what we need in leadership across the board in our country. You know, our founding fathers never meant for us to have a totally secular operation.
Right.
We don't have a form of government that will work. It takes a righteous people who understands the individual rights.
Right.
People who understand that your rights end where my rights begin and vice versa. But you don't have to tell me where to stop. I do it because I know it's the right thing to do, as what you would do. And that's why we had a concept with a constitutional republic in which we expected to have very few laws because people are just going to naturally respect others.
Yes.
We've drifted away from it, but I find him and Dorinda, the vice chair.
Correct.
Dorinda I've known for quite a while. In fact, she was my very first district director, first time I was elected. And unfortunately, her husband got transferred to Houston.
Yeah.
And she had to leave, but now she's back.
Yep.
And I think the two of them who have worked together, they know each other. They will make a great team in leading the party.
Good deal. Well, now as we're coming to a close with the convention, the delegates will be voting on the party platform. So how important is that? Because that is what we, the grassroots, hope to bring to you all, the legislators, as far as what we want you all to get done. So maybe talk a little bit about how important this vote is today.
I will, and let me underscore how important what you just said was, and that is the platform is what the people want, and the people are supposed to be electing people who are going to do what they want done.
Right.
And this lays it out. I think there are 249 planks in the platform coming now. They cover everything from education to economics to energy, elections. It's all in there of the things that the grassroots are saying. This is the way we want our constitutional conservative government structure to work.
Absolutely.
And so that is supposed to be the framework in which those that are elected actually frame their legislation.
Yeah.
And so I think we've got a good platform. I think we, of course, have more in it than really could ever be covered in a session.
Right.
From a practical standpoint. But then to make it a little bit easier, they came up with the priorities.
Right.
It's a list of the most important things.
Yes.
And it really has a list of about 15. I think it is now of what's considered to be the priorities. And they will be voted on later today.
Yep.
They'll be voted on and ranked from the most important of the priorities to the least, 1 through 15. And I'm not sure whether they're going to limit it to 8 like they did last time, or whether they should put out the 15 ranked one way or the other, but it'll be a bit of ranking of those.
Okay.
And we do have some fairly important things that are on that list. They do things like protection of our electric grid from all threats, election integrity, election security is there, the border,
Yep.
education,
Yep.
ending taxpayer-funded lobbying, and things of that nature that we expect the legislature to take up.
Yeah.
Most of which we did in the Senate last session. Passed bills out of the Senate where they went over to the House and died.
Yep.
Which is one of the main reasons for all the action that's been going on in the House.
Right.
And but the people who said, House, you aren't doing what we want you to do.
Right.
We think we need to have some new people.
Some change.
Which is the way it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Those who clamor for term limits, think it will solve their problems with term limits. We have term limits. Our founding fathers gave it to us. They're called elections.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not a it's an election for a very limited period of time. It's not an
Yep.
assignment for life.
Right.
And if you don't like what your elected official is doing during that time period, then you elect somebody else. You
Yeah.
limit their term to that, send them on their way, and put somebody else in there.
Yep.
And that's what we need to be exercising stronger.
Absolutely. One final question. I know that we just talked about the priorities and being in your district. If I recall, before we entered the 88th legislative session in 2023, you yourself put forth some priorities with the grid and election integrity and ending vaccine mandates. Two questions. Will you be doing that again where you have your priorities that you want to focus on to make sure that you get done? And I know those are tied to the party platform, but how do you come up with how do you prioritize those as Bob Hall state senator?
Right off of the priority list.
Okay, good deal.
I filed a bill for every one of the 8 priorities that
Okay.
were on there. We filed other bills, but I made sure we had bills for the priorities, and we will do that again.
Good.
And they're very consistent with
Yes, sir.
my priorities, things I filed bills on in the past that haven't made it, such as taxpayer-funded lobbying, protecting our electrical grid, election integrity. Those will be we're going to have to do something about school choice,
Yes, sir.
and it has to be a good bill.
Right.
And the title, people have to be careful because titles do not tell the story.
No. Have to
And-
read the fine print.
No. The best example I know of is the Affordable Care Act.
Okay.
How can you argue with affordable medical care except when you see what it did to our medical system and what it costs?
Exactly.
So we got to be careful with just title. I am absolutely in favor of school choice, but we have to do it right.
Right. All right. Well, Senator, I really appreciate you
Okay.
taking time out of the busy schedule here at the
Yeah.
convention to chat with us today.
No, glad to. Thank you for asking me. Anytime.
Yes, sir.
Glad
Thank
to
you.
come back. All right.
Okay. Appreciate you, Senator.